Hey guys, I made my first legitimate attempt at pushing the conditioned terminal gauntlet. Wound up in third place behind a couple of spin to win comps, and thought I would make a video detailing the ISO build for this comp that I was using. It should work on pretty much any comp with a few tweaks. And I also want to take this opportunity to share another comp I was running, just trying to get the 4 stars, and that was what I'm going to call my poor man's ISO comp, only using 4 attributes so that you can do it with all solid colored ISO, no rainbows. Also, we'll have some tips for different levels in this gauntlet. It is quite a long video, but I really don't know how to shorten it down and include everything. And at the very end of this video, I will have the level 130 gameplay. First, let's take a look at my poor man's ISO group. They each have the same loadout, which is 3 of the green damage resist ISO and 1 of the red 3.4 HP recovery every 10 seconds ISO. The main mission of this group was just to see the bare minimum to get 4 stars on the gauntlet, and I believe this is the best loadout for 4 ISO to get 4 stars. We'll take a look at the push groups ISO probably about 4 minutes before the end of the video, somewhere in that neighborhood. Okay, so let's talk about the team composition on my poor man's run. I have mostly X-Men here for the team bonus. My ISO doesn't really give me any damage bonuses, so I'm getting that through the team bonus between Deadpool, Wolverine, and Nightcrawler. Now, the reason I have Ghost Rider on this team is simply because I needed someone who could stagger and elementally charge my other 3 heroes for a further damage bonus. Thor would have worked great, but just quite honestly, I have played him so much I just wanted a change. So that's why Ghost Rider ended up here. As far as tips, this is the 3rd run through, beginning of run through number 3 for this comp, and they were all pretty much out of spirit when this started, or out of EP. So if you'll notice, I basic attacked my way up those stairs. I'm going to basic attack this and just try to build my EP back up. That's one of the main things in this game I find, is that EP management is key to survival a lot of times, just because if you have plenty of EP, you can usually blow up the bosses that are killing you. You run out of EP and you find yourself running and trying to basic attack stuff, and it's usually downhill from there. Okay, here we have the Ronin encounter with my poor man's ISO group. First thing I'm looking to do when I come into Ronin is stagger him. Once I get him staggered, I'm going to be looking to carve the first half of his health bar off with a synergy attack. This composition does have several decent synergies, especially Nightcrawler's barrage or area, either combined with Wolverine's barrage or Deadpool's rapid fire, and then also Wolverine's barrage combines with Deadpool's rapid fire as well. So all those make for pretty good synergy attacks. Once I get him to his 2nd stage, I like to be in the back of the room and circle, and I can usually avoid the electric circles that way. I try to stay away from my AI teammates because they are drawing circle fire as well. Once I get him staggered again, I just carve him back down with synergy attack once more. All in all, not a hard level. Alright, here's my Blast Off Surge comp in stage 2 of the gauntlet. I consider this to be the hardest stage in the first half of the gauntlet. Proxima Midnight is actually quite difficult to get your hands on, and if ever I wanted that immune to lightning ISO, this would be the stage where I want it. Basically right now, I'm just trying to maintain my EP, trying not to take too much damage, and I'm not really worried about how fast I make this happen at this point. I do find that it's beneficial to kill the ads in this stage, because if you'll notice, all my AI friends are more worried about the minions than the boss, and that is just the case in this stage. They'll wander off, and the really sad part is once you get in higher levels, they will actually lose that fight. They will wander off to fight a minion and lose to the minion. Only other thing to keep in mind is that these guys always spawn in that same spot, so if you can be ready for them and lay something down to nail them with when they come up, that's always a good thing. Then with Proxima, don't have a lot of tips for her other than use your EX if you have it. Absolutely use your EX on Proxima because you don't really need it for the next stage. And try to avoid that lightning slam. It does a lot of damage. Other than that, I'll take any advice somebody has for Proxima. She's a pretty tough fight in my opinion. She's always, she's very elusive and does a decent amount of damage, and especially once you've been through the gauntlet several times, she can be pretty dangerous. Get a real satisfying finish right here. Always like taking people out with the blast off uppercut. Okay, so here I am at stage 3, the Modok EX challenge. It's one of 2 EX challenges in this gauntlet, and I use both of these challenges as a refueling point. No matter which composition I'm running, I have the same strategy here. My strategy is to go in to stagger Modok. Once he's staggered, I use basic attacks to restore my EP on my characters that are low. And once he comes out of stagger, I use my EX attacks. Those EX attacks help me to avoid damage that he's putting out and also go ahead and take his stagger bar back down. I'm not really looking to kill him at this point. I'm just looking to refill the EP on all my characters. And when this works well, I end up with full health and full EP. It's a little bit harder to juggle than you might think, but I do think it's a worthwhile strategy. At the end of this particular run, I think I end up with full health on everyone, and full health on 3 characters, or full EP on 3 characters, and about half EP on another one. I'm going to go ahead and jump to the end because it's just going to be a repeat of what I was just talking about, and not a lot of fun to watch. Here's the end of this level. You can see that I was successful in refilling everyone's health and 3 out of the 4 EP meters. I'll call that a win, and I got a really satisfying finish with Captain Marvel's EX slamming down onto Modok's head there. I've skipped past the beginning of stage 4 because there's just not a lot that happens here. It seems that I have plenty of time whether I kill lots of enemies or only kill the big ones and rush past everything else. I do try to use the Sentinel cores to kill enemies, but other than that, I can't say that there's too much strategy involved other than just to play the level. I do like to take this Sentinel core. If you jump off of this cliff right about centerways right here and land in that area, you can generally take out 1 or 2 of the enemies with that core, which is really fun. One thing I would like to say about the end of this level as well is I try to avoid using any EX attacks, and you will find out why when we look at stage 5, but I do not want to use any EXs. These enemies are not really that difficult. Sometimes they can dance around a lot, but they generally aren't terribly bad to deal with. Spider-Gwen making me look bad there. So for stage 5, I've come back to our poor man's group just to point out that you don't need any kind of fantastic ISO for this to work. If you will recall, these guys are running 3 damage resistance and 1 HP regen on every character. I'm just looking to stagger Claw. Once I get him staggered, I want to get that first section of his health bar gone as fast as possible. He's going to go into the second stage of his attack, and I'm going to pop all my EX attacks at once. 9 times out of 10, this is the result. He's finished off immediately. Quick and easy. Here we are at stage 6 of the gauntlet. This is the EX challenge with Magneto, Juggernaut, and Mystique. And I like to use this, just like the other EX challenge, to try to gain health and EP. But one thing that's different in this one, I like to try to kill Mystique and Juggernaut as quickly as possible and then use Magneto to recharge. Attacks to look out for. Juggernaut's charge. Don't even chase behind him while he's doing that, because there's like a AoE damage effect to that even trails him. But in any case, when you take the two of them out, just like with Modok, you can refill off of Magneto and come out of the end of this thing in great shape if you do it right. I clipped some of this video out here just for the sake of time. It's going to be long enough as it is, but here you can see by the time I finish Magneto, everybody's looking good, and I even managed to save up a few EX attacks for the next stage. Okay, here we are in stage 7 of the gauntlet with my push comp, and for this clip, my push comp is actually on stage 127. So this is nearing the end of my run before I chose to retire. I was running out of restores anyway and just didn't think that I would make it through another full run, and I wanted it to be on an even number, so I stopped at 130. In any case, with this duo here, I like to focus on Cyclops. I feel that he is the most dangerous in that Colossus only has about one attack that's going to hit me from out of nowhere, and that's his charge. But Cyclops, on the other hand, can hit you with several attacks from off the screen that do substantial damage, and especially this far into the gauntlet. In a minute, you're going to see me use EX attacks simply for the health restoration, and I do take a loss right here in this gauntlet run on this particular level. And what I've found to be the case is it's usually not the character I'm controlling that gets killed. It's usually another character. The AI it may be improved, but it's still lacking. I would be really interested to see how far 4 humans could go in Gauntlet. Try to keep these guys clumped up as much as I can and just blow them up with the EX attack. Here we are at stage 8 of the gauntlet, which is the Morbius stage. Start off with a bunch of minor enemies, and I usually say use this opportunity to charge your EP. That is not the case at this stage. These guys shoot lasers and fire, and it's madness, especially if you are not equipped with a resist being interrupted by time, which in this particular run I'm not using one of those. So I just get rid of these guys by any means possible. When I get down to a few, I do try to throw in some basics, but they do drop enough blue orbs that you can pretty much sustain your EP even using your abilities on them. Morbius, that guy just darts around the screen everywhere. You've got all these mindless ones. It's pretty much madness. I just try to get him staggered as quickly as possible, and best case scenario, I have EX attacks charged and can use those on him once he's staggered. I've tried using the ISO in this level and never really had much luck charging the ISO. Here we are at stage 9 with my poor man's ISO group, killing some trash enemies with basics to restore EP. The reason that I included this clip is because you see where this team starts to hit the wall. This is the last time they have to pass through this challenge to get the 4 stars, and it's a good thing. I did make a couple of mistakes here. Number one, I should have been focusing on Punisher, because he is really quite dangerous in this. He will snipe your AI guys down in a heartbeat. The other thing is I did force Deadpool into the synergy right here, and he's just eating a lot of damage during that. It did result in me getting a couple of kills, and I do have plenty of revives left, but it really wasn't the best way to play that. In any case, at the end of the day, it all works out fine. We get the finish on the level, and I can revive these guys next stage. I'm saving stage 10 for the end of the video. Real quick, I'd like to look at the final results from my poor man's ISO group. They completed 4 stars in 32 stages with 86 revives remaining. I would certainly encourage anyone that has level 150 characters to go ahead, equip some damage resist ISO, and go for the 4 stars. Before we take a look at level 10 gameplay, let's look at the ISO loadout on my push composition. It's not optimal, but this is the best I could put together at the time. Here with Captain Marvel, we've got increased strength by 12.8%, increased damage done to enemies by 16.5%, increased damage resistance by 76%, and 3.4 HP recovery every 10 seconds. For Thor, I've got increased damage done to enemies by 15%, increased shock damage by 22.8%, increased damage done to enemy stagger gauge by 12.8%, increased damage resistance by 43.5%, 3.4% HP recovery every 10 seconds, and 20.9% damage resistance but decrease output by 11.7. Okay, for Miles Morales, I've got increased damage done to enemies by 16.5%, increased ability damage by 17.2%, increased damage resistance by 75%, and 3.4% HP recovery every 10 seconds. And lastly, Ghost Rider. I was running enemies take 1.76 seconds longer to recover from stagger, 11.6% increased critical hit chance to fire abilities, increased damage resistance by 54.5%, and 3.4% HP recovery every 10 seconds. Ideally, I would have liked to have had 73% damage resistance on each character, and also going back, I would like to have resistance to being interrupted by a ton on my favorite character. As promised, here is the stage 130 gameplay, which is the last stage I completed before retiring. I saved this for last just because it's 4 minutes of gameplay, and you know, if you guys are not still here, I totally understand. Now, one thing that I did intend to mention earlier that now is a great time to explain is the mechanics of the Vampiric curse. You'll see that Thanos is glowing red. He is the source of the Vampiric curse. The Grayscale enemies are infected, and any Grayscale enemy I kill will be reborn and have the damage aura around it. So in this stage, it's pretty much a given that you're going to kill most of these minor mobs that are infected. You're going to kill them twice because you're not going to kill Thanos first. But in stage 2, it's very important to know how these mechanics work, because you're going to be dealing with Morbius as the source of the curse, and then Punisher, Moon Knight, and Blade are infected with the curse. So what you ideally want to do is kill Morbius first. That will allow you to kill the other enemies without them being reborn and having to be killed a second time. Once I kill Morbius, my second objective in this stage is to kill Punisher, because his ranged attacks are pretty oppressive, especially if you're not equipped with the Do Not Interrupt ISO, which I'm not. So I'll go find Punisher, kill him, and generally the other enemies will follow me over to Punisher, and so I can kill more than one person at a time. And the rest of the strategy in this is just dependent upon your composition. So I'll just take the rest of this time to kind of talk about the expansion and my feelings on it. My feelings on the expansion are that it could have been better. I'm glad I've got it. I feel like it was worth the $20, and I've enjoyed it. but the fact that a gauntlet run on leaderboard takes hours and hours, it's just excessive for an attempt at a leaderboard. Also, the fact that you can't really use the gauntlet to farm shield tokens, the time that you invest just doesn't justify the payout. You can run stage 1 of Nowhere in Nightmare Story mode and get way more shield tokens. So I'd rather be farming Gauntlet than farming stage 1 of Nowhere over and over again. So I really wish that the payout had justified playing Gauntlet. But the wait screens were the true killer. The only good news is you can put your Nintendo into sleep mode, and once it's in sleep mode, everything, I had no problems. I can't guarantee it'll work for everybody the same way, but I played this run over about 3 or 4 days before and after work, you know, and had no issues. I was always able to wake it up and just continue my push. So I did always stop at one of the push A screens. I didn't stop in the middle of playing, but it worked out fine that way. But it does lock up my Nintendo. I can't play other games. I can't play other things on this game, and I can't let anyone else play any games simply because I'm trying a leaderboard push, and I just don't feel like that was the best decision on game design here. Well, that's pretty much going to wrap us up here. I'll be finishing off thing here in a moment, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was very long, but just had a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about, and I will see you next time.